Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. It's here each week that we actually come to the show to visit with various experts, individuals who are experts in not only what they do, but how to apply these principles in our businesses so that we can, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in our area. It's here where we're focusing on the services that we're providing. It's perhaps the marketing and selling. Maybe it's working with our staff and training them. Maybe it's even our own mindset. It's here that we're actually hearing from the experts those various things that we need to do to not only offer quality services, but get paid what we're worth. Today, I'm excited to have on the show someone that's actually going to bring a lot of insights as to how to work efficiently. It's Matt Granados. He happens to be the founder of Life Pulse Inc., where he equips teams with a proven framework to build sustainable, burnout-free performance. He's helped clients like Google, Twitter, and the U.S. Air Force drive measurable growth by combining mindset and structure. Matt is also the author of 2 books that we'll be bringing up today that are each international bestsellers, and he is a sought-after keynote speaker. Get ready to actually rethink, motivate systems, and more importantly, find what real success looks like. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
Roger, very honored to be here. Super excited to chat with you and the audience and dive into it. Let's go.
Let's do it. Now, just to kind of set the stage here, one of the things that we really focus on is that there are 3 key things essential for success in business: getting the clients you deserve, offering quality services, and working efficiently and profitably. And I think that's where a lot of what you're going to be talking about here really plays into it, is the efficiency side of things. So let me just begin with a very bold question. A lot of times as owners, we're trying to run our businesses, whether we're solopreneurs or mid-level firms, and we're trying to be efficient. We're trying to put into place systems and processes to actually ensure that things are getting done well and timely. What do you actually feel you focus on when you work with accounting firms and they're struggling as owners to actually get the most out of their teams? What is it, the challenge that you see and experience that they're facing?
Yeah, it's not just accounting firms, it's people in general. And accounting firms specifically, you guys tend to hold this at a higher level, and it's confusing efficiency with effectiveness.
Love it.
So here's what I mean by that. We have sacrificed effectiveness for efficiency with AI, with technology, systemization, all that stuff. And I'm a systems guy. That's what we do. But I don't create a system that increases efficiency without managing effectiveness. So if I increase efficiency by 20%, but I decrease effectiveness by 60%, it's not as good. If I can now text my wife I love her versus look her in the eyes and tell her I love her, yes, I can do it faster, more often, more regularly, but it's nowhere near as effective as the one time before we go to bed that I get to say it to her. Does that make sense? So really differentiating those 2.
It does. And I appreciate the illustration of that, because I was going to ask, define what efficiency is as it relates to effectiveness. Because if I'm being efficient, I have to assume I am being effective. But that illustration of saying to your wife that you love her, clearly effective was texting. I mean, I got it done and she heard it and understands it. That's great.
Yeah.
But it is so different than looking her in the eye and actually telling her how much you appreciate and love her. So definitely effective is important. Where do you see that comes into play in accounting firms, where we may be very efficient, but we may not be effective?
Yeah. So the way let's describe those 2 so you have it. Efficient is based on speed. Effective is based on quality of the outcome.
Nice.
So that's how you define the 2 of them. And we do it as a ratio every week with clients. We have this question. We call it ICE, ICE, right? Well, EE. But it's intentionality, capacity, efficiency over effectiveness. Where are we at? Once I know where you're standing, I know where we can coach. That's a whole separate thing we could jump into. But in the accounting firms, it has to do with the fact of serving clients. We try to get so quick with what we do that we aren't actually serving the clients. And what we do is we offer these ridiculous just expectations that are only going to hurt you. So in a small firm, right, we've worked with everything from large firms with 15, 20 partners to individual. The majority of most accounting firms in general are small, 5 to 10 or lower places. So we're going to go with the lower ones. If you're a bigger one, reach out. I'll work with you on that. It's not much different.
Okay.
But expectation management is where I find most accountants fall short. Meaning, we as the consumer assumes April 15th is the deadline. But as you all know, it's like there's always a deadline. Like there's always another deadline and another. Like the April 15th thing is not actually where my accountant is super busy, because he just pushes us over to October and into there's all these different. And for our foundation, it's a different date. So it's the reality of setting clear expectations. So when we work with accounting firms, the first thing we do is the way we fix our capacity issue and our efficiency issue is by setting proper expectations. And guess what? People love it. So what happens is I don't necessarily know when my things are supposed to be done, but when you tell me they're going to be done by a certain date and you hit that mark, we're in a good spot. And the way I relate that to is you see the airlines have done this beautifully. If you jump on an airline right now, um, and you dive in and you get on a flight, they're going to tell you you're going to be there at 1:20. Well, 10 years prior, it's always been 1 o'clock. So they moved the expectation of you as a passenger. Check it out. Every single flight does this now. Every single airline does it. Delta was the one I first noticed it on. They moved everything out 20 minutes. And then when we land, they almost always say the same thing. Hey, I know we got out a little late, but turns out we got you here 5 minutes early. No, you actually got us here 15 minutes late. You just did a brilliant job of setting expectations properly so that me as the consumer got what I thought I was paying for. All of that being said, that's not a manipulation tactic. It's the fact that, hey, I can get that to you, but it's going to take us a week to do it. I got to call the IRS. I got to sit on the line. I got to sit there and do it. And since I'm the CPA, I can do it, but my assistant can't. So that thing that you need done today, it will not get done today. It will get done in 3 days. And setting clear expectations is what will help you with, as a small shop, trying to get rid of these kind of constant catch up times that I feel a lot of CPAs run into. Sorry, that was a longer answer.
No, that was perfect, because what you're describing there is, I think, hugely important as to the customer experience. You're managing expectations. One of the things that I think is so important is if we could do a much better job of communicating effectively what they should expect and experience, they're going to be happier. Why? Because it's not this elusive, well, I thought. Well, no, let's manage that expectation. And what you're doing here is, as it relates to efficiency and effectiveness, it's effectively delivering on what we actually said we would do. So clearly they're able to say they got what they paid for, what they anticipated getting. Now, the efficiency is, did we do this in a way that was not only profitable, but was it actually smart and efficient, in the sense that, yes, we achieved the outcome, it was effective, but did we do it profitably? So I really like where you're communicating to the listeners of my show what it is that they need to consider as they're actually working with their clients. So now let's take it a step further. We've got this efficiency and effective quotient. What is the system behind that, though? What do we need to be considering so that we can actually work towards that?
Yeah. So where that all comes with is, how do you bring intentionality to everything you do? Meaning you're not just reactionary, you're intentional. And what we talk about is intentionality is the catalyst to fulfillment. And what I mean by that is no one accidentally becomes fulfilled. I've seen
Yeah.
people accidentally become rich. I've seen people accidentally become successful, but I've never seen someone be accidentally fulfilled. So as an accountant, most of you are reacting to what your people send to you. So the way you frame the relationship is, Roger, if you're my accountant and I'm your client, I
Uh-huh.
send Roger something. I expect Roger to stop everything, his 100 other clients he has, and serve me. And Roger has done that pretty much all his life as a career. Instead, when you onboard them, you're going to lay out a clear system. And we coach people how to build these out, but a clear system on, here's how we are going to communicate from client to actual company. We're going to work on this. And if you need something quick, we can get it for you, but there is going to be an additional fee for an emergency situation so that we can staff properly to do that. But the expectation set clearly ahead of time is the key. Now, how do you do it as an individual? Because what we talk about is, if you can't do this for yourself, don't expect others to do it. So a lot of times as the owner, it's like, I'm going to set all these expectations, but I'm not going to be held to the same standard. That's a terrible way to run a business. It's a terrible way to live a life.
Yeah.
So we want to start with you. When you say you're going to do something, do you follow through with it? That's called integrity. We all have it. We don't show it, but we all have it. And we want to lean on it and live by the fact that when I, as a leader, say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. When my employees say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. When we set a goal, we are not okay with missing the goal. We want to hit the goal because we said we were going to. If we miss the goal, we can have a conversation, but we're not going to sit there and go, oh, well, that was a pie in the sky. So it all goes back with integrity, intentionality, and in a second, I'll share a system that we use to actually maximize both of those.
This is beautiful, because I like where you're going with all this. And the way I would add to it is this simple phrase: do what you say and say what you mean. And that brings into this integrity element that you're mentioning. So I know you've got a system here, but I think this is a great segue to it, because owners of firms, we all have this intention. We have who we are, how we would do it, what we think it should be. But at the end of the day, there's a culture that's being built within the organization around how we run the organization, how we show up. what systems can we put into place, or is there a process to ensure that what we're expecting to do for our clients, our staff is doing?
Yeah. So it starts with you and then it goes to them, right? So in the book, Motivate the Unmotivated, which we'll probably talk about later, we have a framework that is the sum of how well you know yourself and them
Hmm.
times whatever system equals the desired outcomes. So, like,
Interesting.
these are the variables we have to work on. But we as leaders jump on them first. So, here's the system for you. We call it the LP. And it's basically 9 questions I ask myself every single week. I structure my life week by week. I encourage my team to do the same. So I teach my team the system. Obviously, it's my system, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And we are all working on the same system that doesn't just help us in our business life, it helps us in personal and professional. And what the system itself does is it bridges the gap from intention to structure. Here's the key: intention is the purpose behind any goal, structure is the fine, repeatable process towards achievement. You need to combine those two. And when you do that, you get what we call perpetual development. Everyone, like you said, Roger, everyone has intention. Intention is that, all right, hey, I intended on losing 10 pounds this year. I truly put a gun to my head. I truly intended to do it. Most people, when they get married, they intend to stay married. The intention is there. And what happens? Time comes in, experience comes in, hits come in, roadblocks come in, challenge. All of a sudden, with time, without structure, that intention goes away. So what this LP system is, it's 9 questions that allows you to start with intention, lean on the structure, but what the structure does is point you back to the intention. And that's why I call it perpetual development, because you're putting this system in place that is rebounding you back to your original intention, which gives you the motivation to then take the action. The system puts you back, you're back in this loop. Once you start doing that, you're going to start experiencing fulfillment. Once your employees truly experience fulfillment without burning themselves out, they don't want to go back. So we get proof of concept very quickly in this weekly planning system. We share it both personally and professionally so they can experience it at home as well as with their work. And they go, hold on a second. This thing's actually working. My life's better when I use it. And that's where the pragmatism comes in, which is what gets people moving forward and sticking to plans.
I love that little simple process of actually going from what you're thinking about to fulfilling that and experiencing that, because the intention, you're so right. I mean, we all have best of intentions. I mean, everybody's got something that they'd like to do differently or better, but that intention doesn't do anything. You actually have to now put into place time and effort. And that's that system that you're referring to.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to make this intentional, in the sense that now that it's a priority, what's going to happen? Now that system that you're referring to comes up with steps. You're thinking through, okay, how am I going to do this? It's SMART goals, it's realistic things that I can achieve. The greater the clarity of what it is that's the desired outcome is going to influence that. But all of a sudden, these systems aren't only just affecting what the business owner is doing. What I'm hearing you say is it allows us to now take it throughout the company, because now we all have systems. We can all play a part in that process.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, we're all going to be able to benefit or feel the reward of the fulfillment. We did it. We achieved it. It actually turned out as we hoped it might. And all of a sudden, there's a great deal of satisfaction that can come from it. And what you said well is, now that that actually happened and we got to experience it, we want to do it again. Let's do this again. And let's do it for another client and another client and another client. And all of a sudden, what happens here is this becomes our SOP. This is essentially our way of doing work around here. How am I doing? Am I articulating this well?
Perfectly. I think the biggest thing is people are looking for proof where proof can only be seen in the present.
Hmm.
Expectations, thoughts, possibilities, that's futuristic. But everyone's like, I want proof. So what they need to do is they need to experience it. So one of the things we teach people when you bring any system in, whether it's Life Pulse or another system, whatever it might be, is you have to help them navigate and experience it as what we call being an architect, right? So like, here's how kind of leadership has developed over the last, 70 years at this point, into the 50s, because it was kind of the same thing up to that point. It was the drill sergeant. And we've all experienced a drill sergeant. Most of us have been the drill sergeant at times, right? You do what I say, or you die trying. The second thing that came from that was the inverse. So the pendulum swung all the way to what we call the cheerleader on the sideline. Everything's going to be good. Rah, rah. I'm not really here to help. And then all of a sudden, this personal development world came in about the 70s. And then we all became teachers. And what teachers do is they give knowledge. Well, knowledge at this point with this little thing right here, knowledge has lost a lot of its value because everyone can access it. What really has value is wisdom. which is using the correct knowledge in the correct way at the correct time. So what we want our clients to become is not drill sergeants, not cheerleaders, not even teachers to your people, but architects. What do architects do? They use the natural laws of physics to build what's needed to get the contractor to do what's needed. So what I want to teach every single client of mine who's leading other people is, how do you provide a way to expose, bridge, and sustain the performance gaps that your people are experiencing? And guess what? So are you. So everything we do is based on gaps. How do we get from where we are to where we want to go? And when we teach that mindset, we call it the gap-based mindset. Humans naturally go to the end point, not the start point. But if you don't ever add the bridge where you're just like, man, our communication's terrible, that's what we focus on. But if we want to bridge the gap from bad communication to good communication, our natural tendency is to focus on where we're going. So it changes the entire way we communicate about problems, the entire way we communicate about the issues within the company. And you're not going to believe it. People start bringing solutions to the conversation because they want to bridge the gap.
Learn the turnkey process for starting and building a successful accounting business. It's in this course that you'll actually experience 4 specific trainings. Part 1, your business plan, everything you need to know to get started. Part 2, how to price your services, the pros and cons of different methods and the best way to price your services that are both profitable and professional. Marketing and selling your services so that you can actually be top of mind, but more importantly, how to actually be seen as a trusted strategic advisor. And last of all, mapping it all out. 5 principles in running a profitable business so that you can be both competent and confident in the services you're providing. Learn now what it is you can be doing to start and build your own successful accounting, bookkeeping, or tax business. Go to the episode description and there get the information you need to take advantage of this today. You know, those, I'm going to refer to them as management styles that you spoke of. I really like that because I can resonate those with my history as to having experienced each of them. That drill sergeant, that person that's barking out what needs to happen, I get it. I mean, that had a place, it served its time, and more importantly, it did get things accomplished. But the thing is there was an evolution to where it went to that cheerleader, that teacher, it went to that architect. And what we're experiencing today is we all have this wealth of information, and you'd like to think the information by default means we have the knowledge. It doesn't mean that, but that's, I think, what a lot of people presume comes from the information is, because there is that information, therefore I must know. That's not true. But I liked how you took it a step further and went to wisdom. Wisdom is leveraging that knowledge through experience and expertise. That wisdom comes because we actually have some application we can draw from. So now, as a leader, it's what do we do with that wisdom that we have and dispel it within the organization? And I liked how you were illustrating that. So I guess the question I would have is, as you've kind of worked with organizations, especially accounting firms, where do you feel we struggle the most to actually help the newer generation kind of adopt what we're trying to do here as an accounting firm to be successful? Because in their own right, their success is our success.
Yeah. I find the majority of accountants, and hopefully you're not bothered when I say this, don't value margin in their life the way they do in the books.
Okay.
Right? So meaning you're so full, you're so busy, you're so on to the next. There is no time to take a breath. And that's why
natural. I can relate to that.
That's why setting clear expectations is needed. So when I work with an accountant, let's talk about during season, right? Y'all know what I mean. There's season, there's off season, right? Off season, they tend to be okay, right? It's usually the week after a deadline. That's what I call off season, right? You try to get a hold of an accountant the week after a deadline, it's almost like you better go to the beach to find them, right? They leave the place. But on season, in season, it's complete chaos. And it's okay. That's the problem. We've started to accept status quo as good. And just because something's not bad doesn't mean it's good. If something's not bad, it's just not bad. This is the difference between a high performer and optimal performers. A high performer wins a race against a bunch of slow people and assumes they're fast. Optimal performers compare themselves to their own ability. And that's the same concept. So what I would say is creating margin. So if you're sitting there going, I'm working 40 hours a week, we're just going to go with 40 because that's what you should be doing based on what the world has said, right? I know it's more for most people, but let's say 40 hours. I don't actually have 40 hours to get the job done because in that 40 hours, I got to deal with kid stuff. I got to deal with family stuff, wife stuff, husband stuff. I got to deal with employee stuff, client stuff. Turns out I only have about 20 hours. Interesting. So you're assuming you're going to get 40 hours. You're planning as if you will, knowing that you won't. Then you're going to give the excuse of, man, I just got pulled by my clients. Buddy, that's the business we chose to be in. It's going to happen. So what we do is we reframe how you're scheduling your week to go, all right, how much actual time do you have? Well, I got to be available for clients. How much time do you need to be available for clients? I need at least 2 hours a day. Okay, just a heads up, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours. You just lost a quarter of your 40-hour week.
Yeah.
Right. And then being realistic about it. Now, what we do with our clients is when we first start working with you, you find out that you are not as busy as you think you are. You're just not utilizing the time effectively. Once we fix that, then we realize you're busier than you think you are. And what I mean by that is now the goals that you have set are going to take more time than you think. We're biased. We think we could do more in less time when the opposite is there is we can't do it as well and it will take more time. So coming in with that reality and then creating margin as part of the strategy. So if you got a 10-hour workday, schedule it for 8. 2 of those are going to go. We call it the 80-20 principle of planning. 80% of your life you can plan, 20% you can't. However, if you don't take care of the 80, the 20 will feel like 100. That is why when you're out of control, it feels like the whole world's falling apart. And really, it's a small bit, like you forgot your lunchbox or something. That's what really throws us off. But it's because we don't have the 80 taken care of that when the 20 comes in, it feels like everything. And I got plenty of examples of how that works.
You know, just hearing what you've described, I'm going to just share a few of the things that I've experienced and what I've done just to try and address what you're describing. One, everything does take longer than you expect. I can't speak enough of that. Every time I presume it's going to take me an hour, it takes me 2. Every time I think it'll take me a day, it'll take me a week. It's fascinating to me how much my mind oversimplifies things, and I'm notorious for that. The second thing is I really do believe is what I hear you describing, the importance of reverse engineering things. What is the ideal? What is that? What is it that my 40-hour work week should look like? What should I be doing for my customers? What should I be doing for myself, for my employees? All those things. And I have to say, okay, in an ideal world, what would I think that looks like? And I have to reverse engineer it, and I have to manage my time accordingly. Only then, if I can take control over that most valuable, precious item of time, will I be able to actually achieve the things I want to. Otherwise, everything's going to demand my time, and therefore I'm going to lose control. So I have to be somewhat very protective of that thing that everyone else wants, but only I can control, my time. And so that's one of the things that I'm really, I think, quite sensitive to as it relates to what it is you're describing, because you're right. If we don't take control of it, the days are going to go longer. The things that I didn't expect are going to consume my day. All those things come into play, and I'm not in control. How's this sounding so far?
Great. And the way we teach it is it's easier to give back time than to find it.
Yes.
So go in thinking you only got 20 hours to work. And if you happen to not get as many emergencies, guess what you can do? More work. You can always do more of what you want, but you can't find the time. And what I relate this 80-20 principle to, my daughter, Natalie, right? One thing we teach, everything that Life Pulse puts out has to work professionally, personally, and with your family.
Yeah.
If it can't, it's not worth the time of a human fully embracing. If it's just going to make me a better accountant, I don't care. It's not helping me in my marriage, my finance, my spiritual walk. It's not helping me physically. No, I want truth. Truth is constant. Application changes. So everything we do, we test with those 3 filters. Here's a very clear one, 80-20. My daughter, Natalie, has an extremely rare genetic disorder. 17th to ever have it, youngest by far. She basically, her muscles don't work, right? So she's been in a wheelchair her whole life. We just got out of a long ICU stay, and we're still in the middle of battling something right now. Here's what I have found. We have dealt with everything from a common cold to her actually dying and coming back 20 minutes later. And the scariest part about these trips is the severity of my daughter's condition does not dictate how my wife and I experience the journey. What dictates it is how well we are prepared before our life gets thrown off, not how dangerous it is for our daughter. That's a humbling reality. it actually is not about how dangerous it is for my daughter. It's more about how dysfunctional we were when she decided to get sick. That's how life tends to work. It's not about the severity of what you're dealing with right now. It's about how poorly we've managed the other 80% of our life that now we can't handle the chaos that is not potentially going to happen. That is part of life. It will happen. There is unpredictability. And because of that, I want to challenge every single person here is focus on the 80 you can control so you can deal with the 20 when it comes.
Well, Matt, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And
Yep.
with regards to your daughter, I wish the best for her and you and your family.
Thank you.
But the truth of what you just brought out is, I think, very important. our our ability to handle the challenges that we face oftentimes is contingent upon how well prepared we are before the challenge even arises.
Bingo.
And I think that's a testament to you, because clearly you're dealing with some very severe things, life-threatening things, and yet it's how well prepared mentally, physically, how organized you are before it happens that determines how well you're going to weather that storm. Is that a good
Yeah.
summation of what you just said?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I say the most successful people I work with have a system and solution before they need it. The average person finds it when they need it, and the lost person never looks for it. And I think
Powerful.
that's the reality of what we're talking about right here is, everyone's like, financial struggles is what ruins marriage. No, it's the 20 years of not working together to grow each other together. Then a financial struggle comes in, and that's what breaks the camel's back. And that's the reality in all relationships. That's the reality, honestly, in most health issues is
Mhm.
like, oh man, it was that one time. No, it wasn't. It was a 30 years of chocolate chips every night. Like it literally, you look back on it, it's small actions that lead up to the big result, but then we only look at the one time it is. One thing we teach on is trajectory. It's a huge part of what kind of is the most frustrating thing I deal with is very successful people, financially very successful, top performers, professional athletes, executives, whatever it might be. And then you realize that they're living a life with regrets. And it's not because of a decision they just made. It's small decisions in the wrong direction over a
Yeah.
long period of time. So the way I articulate this is if you were to take an airplane, and I don't know, I think it's in Motivate the Unmotivated, the book. If you were to take an airplane and you were to be off by just an inch going from the West Coast to the East Coast, by the time you travel that distance, which is about 6 hours, you're going to be over 100 miles away from your destination. So take that 6 times it by 4, give yourself a day. You're talking 400 miles every single day away from where you're supposed to be. And what happens is if we don't take the time to evaluate our week, which is part of our system, how did I do last week in what we call the 4 vital signs of fulfillment, we can't course correct. But if you course correct at LAX before you get to Dulles, you will be spot on with where you want to go. That is why we tell every person, live your life 1 week at a time. A month is too long, a day is too short. If you're not seeing your week, you have no way to be strategic. And you're not planning, you're making a list. In order to plan, you need to be strategic. And that's what the foundational system that we talked about does in every coach and client we work with.
It goes back to this phrase of living life with intent. And that goes back to your point earlier of intent's great, but it doesn't get you anywhere. You've got to
Yeah.
actually then do the processes, and that's that course corrections that you're referring to, and that will lead to the fulfillment that you mentioned earlier. So I'm loving how this all ties back together.
Get your free copy of the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. This is a how-to guide for accounting professionals to work with their clients and actually implement proven processes and systems to ensure that their clients make profit a priority. It is in this book you'll actually learn how to map the business and, in fact, make marketing, accounting, and production a priority within your client's business. You also learn the wisdom pyramid, how to actually take the information you're providing to your clients and effectively use it so that they can make more informed business decisions. This book is designed to help you communicate more effectively with your clients and, in fact, have them see you as their profit and growth expert. Get your free copy now of the ebook today, In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable.
So here's the question. In your bio, I pointed out that you help individuals with burnout-free performance.
Yeah.
What is burnout? How do you define that? And what is it that you're helping people realize they can implement to avoid burning out?
Yeah, let's touch base on burnout real quick. Number one, a lot of people tell me they're burnt out, and I have to reply back, I don't know if you've ever been lit. Like You need to be lit before you can be burnout. But burnout is an understood concept of just, I'm at my max capacity. I cannot go any further.
Yep.
This is where people don't like me very much because there's only one person who's responsible for you burning out, and that's you. Period. That is not the business. That's not the clients. That's not the company. That's not your boss. It's you. It's accepting things in the wrong way. So how do you avoid burnout? Number one is you plan your week ahead of time and you understand the concept of intentionality. We've already talked about that. We also talked about the E's in the ICE, which is effectiveness and efficiency. What we haven't talked about is capacity. We have what I call as an inefficiency epidemic. The average person is only working at about 40% of their capacity. So when we come in with clients, I say, look, we're going to double your efficiency. How? Well, we're going to take them from 40% just to 80. Oh man, I don't know how we're going to make that happen. Well, we're just going to put some systems in place that will allow them to live up to the level they're supposed to be. That's how we do it. Every single client we work with. With burnout and capacity, what you need to be careful of is if you are, think about yourself as a car, and there's your RPMs. If you're redlining, the car will break. I don't care how well the car is designed. It could be everything from a low level car to a $1 million car. It doesn't matter. If you're redlining it, you're going to hurt it. We live our life in the red line. When I hire someone, let's put it this way, my goal and my rule is you need to be able to do 100% of the responsibilities at 80% of your effort. Now, people are sitting there going, well, no. I want them working 100%. I didn't say they don't have to work 100%, but they cannot sustain 100%. We as humans, I found the sweet spot is right at 80. 80% of our capacity is where we function at the best level possible. We're not slow. We're warmed up. We're ready to go. So we focus on how do we get you to 80%. If your capacity is at 100, we need to put intentionality at your capacity. How do we start saying no to more things? How do we give those deadlines to be longer? When clients come in, I'm not going to get it right back to them. I might finish it, and then we're going to have a backlog of things we're going to send to people and give it about 24 hours before we respond. We're going to start giving ourselves the margin, like I said, accountants don't necessarily like. The problem with burnout is you never look at capacity and you think you should be going 100 miles an hour all the time. There are times that we call expansion cycles that you'll be redlining, but we have to come back to baseline. We do not build systems going 100%. We build systems that can handle when we go 80, knowing we can go 60, but we know how to get right back to 80. If I have a client, the first thing I do is I take them out of 100, get them to 80 right away, because I know the way they're going will not work.
You know, what you're describing there is something that I personally experienced and just recently had a conversation with all of my staff. One of the things that I think is hugely important as it relates to employment, because you were talking about it from an employee ability to do their job at 80% capacity, is so true. They're hired to do a task, a job that is realistically something that they should be able to achieve in the time allotted. It shouldn't be this race all the time. It should be something that they're comfortably able to perform. And that's one of the things that I think is hugely important. Do you have the skills, the tools, the training, the ability to do what's required of you comfortably? And if that's the case, then that's a great fit for what's being expected. But as it relates to burnout, one of the things that I really appreciate you pointing out at the very beginning is it is an individual thing. And the way I've always addressed it, and the thing that I've spoken to, is the value of passion. People who have passion, they know where they're headed. They know why they're doing what they're doing, and they're willing to make certain sacrifices to achieve that. What happens with burnout, as I've experienced it, is all of a sudden the thing that you're striving for is no longer worth the challenge or sacrifice being experienced. And that's the burnout. The burnout is it's no longer worth it. So as long as what you're working towards is still greater, it's clear, then what you're experiencing now is something you can push through. You're willing to push through this because you know there's something greater on the other side that you're working towards. If that thing becomes unclear, elusive, something that you're no longer interested in, of course you're burned out because it's no longer worth what you're doing today. So that's how I'd add to what it is you were sharing, simply because of the fact that burnout, I think, is very real, but it's at that personal level. Do you clearly know or remember what it was that you were doing this for in the first place?
And I think another way to look at burnout is it's not necessarily what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. That's the problem, right? If you're in alignment with your calling, and we teach about identity, calling, and assignment, if you're in alignment with your calling and it's not working, it's likely not that you're doing the wrong thing. It's the way you're doing it is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we leverage away from that and out of exactly what you're talking about. And then the other thing is understanding that willpower fades. Every single study. If you're
Mm-hmm.
doing this strictly by your own will, you're going to break. Human willpower is not as strong as we think it is. That is the reason why we leverage systems to give your willpower a break, let the system hold on for a bit so you can take a breath, come back around and come back at it. So
Yeah.
just recognize if it's like, well, I'm just going to will it. That's okay if you're running a sprint, but not if that's your MO. And a lot of us, that is our method of operation. That's our business plan is we're just going to crush it. Well, you're going to get crushed. Grind it out. You know what happens when you grind something? It goes to nothing. Like the words we even use are not what we actually mean. And that's why we come in and we focus on that structure of, hey, if we're going to coach you, we're going to expose, bridge, and sustain all of the gaps personally and professionally. Because if you're messed up at home, you're not producing at the highest level in the workplace. If you're messing up in the workplace, you're not producing at the highest level at home. And if you're not producing at the highest level that you're called to produce at, you're not going to experience the ultimate fulfillment, which is what we get every single client to go through.
Yeah. What the way I would add to this thing that you're describing is habits, the value of habits.
Amen.
Highly effective habits. One of the things you want to get to is what you're doing that you're so good at, where you were at one point possibly pushing through it and it took that extra effort, should eventually become easy and habitual. And if it can get there, then it's comfortable, it's natural. And that's one of the things that you want to strive for. Success shouldn't always be this hard, elusive thing that you're striving toward.
Bingo.
It should be something that habitually just comes to you naturally because you've already put into place these processes, these systems to achieve it. So I'm really appreciative of this conversation because I think everything that you're sharing with us needs to have been said. So thank you for bringing it here. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. Our time together has clearly flown, and I'm really appreciative of everything that's been shared. So what I'm going to do is point out some things. I'm going to do a summary and come back to you for a closing thought. But let me begin with an invitation. Matt has actually extended to everyone the opportunity to join and participate in a monthly group coaching call that actually is designed to help high performers level up to their optimal performance. If you want to level up your performance and perform optimally, this is something that I'd like to have you consider. So in the episode description, go and get the information you need to actually participate in this monthly group coaching phone call. In addition to that, I want to invite you to the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. This is a challenge that is designed to help you over the next 90 days work both on yourself and your business. It is intended here for you to actually receive weekly emails with tasks that may last as simple as 15 minutes or maybe 1 week, an hour, so that you can actually work on your business comfortably in the next 90 days and literally work towards having the premier accounting firm in your area. So I invite you to actually participate in the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. For this, you can go to universalaccounting.com/podcast and get the information you need there. It's a very simple form. With your email, you're going to receive weekly the various tasks that you can do to work on both yourself personally and professionally so you can actually work on your business and build the premier accounting firm in your area. In addition to that, I want to invite you to GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual conference. It is for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. It's here that you actually get to meet your peers, basically build friendships, connections, meet those people who are like you, who are thriving in their businesses, learn what they're doing so well. You also get to collaborate with them, perhaps make connections that will assist you as you're working with your clients. In addition, of course, you get to hear from the experts, these individuals from the stage that share with us various things that we need to consider as we're growing our businesses, getting the clients we deserve, addressing marketing and sales and pricing. It's here that we're going to talk about what things are related to the services we're offering. What things can get us paid what we're worth? What are the clients needing from us as it relates to the accounting services that we provide? In addition to that, we're going to be talking about the production side of the business, the tech stack, the skills, the training that we need to be providing. What can we be doing to work efficiently and profitably within our organizations? So come and join us for GrowCon. You can go to universalaccounting.com, and in the site navigation, you can find the information regarding GrowCon. Get your ticket, and I look forward to seeing you there. As it relates to today's discussion, this has been a wonderful conversation. Matt obviously started with a number of things that are very, very important as it relates to what we need to consider as we work on our businesses. One of the things that really resonated was how he spoke of intention, and that's not just good enough. We need those systems in place. And then he spoke about once you actually formalize and experience the fulfillment of what's happening, it causes you to want to recircle back to what all that is. We talked about burnout here at the end. One of the things that I think is hugely important is understanding that it is something that can happen to us if we become unfocused on that goal that we're working towards. And I think that is very important. We spoke of not only what it is that we can be doing in our business personally, but also how can we take this to our teams? What can we do to become better leaders? And ultimately, at the end of the day, we talked about one of the things that I think, in my personal opinion, we need to consider is what can we do to make sure that we're taking care of not only the work that needs to be done, those deadlines, but managing expectations. If you remember at the beginning, we talked about realistically setting for our clients what it is that experience is for them that they can anticipate and expect from us. And if we manage those things well, all of a sudden the stresses that are associated with doing the work that we do start to be eliminated because we're managing the expectations of our clients so well. So lots of great little insights that we were able to pull from today's conversation. Matt, what would you like to leave with?
I just love to leave with the fact that you have the ability to control 80% of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if things are going bad, it's not necessarily the what, it's the how. A lot of you know what to do. It's an awareness issue. It's how to actually do it. And that's where our entire company focuses. We want to teach the how to do what you should do. So when you get someone like me potentially coming into your organization, I don't need to teach you how to be a better accountant. Don't get led by someone who's not an expert in that field, and stick true to what that is. And that's why, Roger, what you're building with the groups and going to these events, like that is where you will benefit, is you will have other experts in the field pouring into you. And if you're not willing to get out of your comfort zone and go and be a part of these things that, Roger, that you're putting on, or bringing in people who can help build your team, then don't be surprised if you don't get where you're trying to go. Again, it's not about just knowing. That's the what. It's the proper application of that knowledge. That's the wisdom, using the correct knowledge, the correct time, in the correct way. And don't trick yourself by thinking, if I have it up here, that means I'm going to do it out there.
Matt, beautifully said. This has been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate all the insights that you've shared. And honestly, I feel that for the listeners, we've got some excellent things that we can stop and consider and actually implement within our business. So I encourage you to take and not just listen to this episode, but see what applications you can make within your own business. As it relates to today's conversation, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, I invite you to do so. Love to have you as a regular listener. We release episodes every Wednesday, and it's here that we actually share the insights from the experts as to what it is you can be doing to work on your business, and in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your area. So subscribe now, and we'd love to actually have you each and every week on the call. Now, as it relates to the podcast, we've now got over 300 episodes that we've put together. I'm going to invite you to actually go to universalaccounting.com, and in the site navigation, find the highlights. The podcast highlights consists of playlists that we've compiled. These are things that enable you the ability to go and actually dive into, binge listen to what the experts are saying about very specific topics that are basically relevant to your current situation. These range from marketing, selling, pricing, mental health, tech stacks. We're talking about skills, onboarding. We're obviously discussing things as it relates to retaining clients. These are conversations you don't want to miss. Go there now to the episode highlights, and in that, dive into those playlists. Now, in addition to that, I want to invite you to GrowCon again. That is a conference you don't want to miss. This is something that's designed specifically for you to work on your business. So join us for GrowCon. Now, as it relates to the conversation that we shared today, I do want to encourage you to now, if you have questions about these conversations or others that have been had on the show, feel free to reach out to us at universalaccountingschool.com. That is where we actually cover the various programs and courses that are available to assist you in getting not only the competence to service your clients, but the confidence to go out there being certified as a professional bookkeeper, professional taxpayer, or also that of a profit and growth expert. So all that being said, if you'd like more information, go to universalaccountingschool.com and get the things that you need to, in fact, be the premier accounting firm. If you'd like to rather actually discuss these with our staff, feel free to give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, accounting success is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.